Rogers Network resuming after major outage hits millions of Canadians. This is a Reuters story, July 9, 2 days ago. Rogers Telecommunications said its network was beginning to recover late on Friday after a 19-hour service outage at one of Canada's biggest telecom operations shut banking, transport, and government access for millions, drawn outrage from customers and adding to criticism over its industry dominance. Nearly every facet of life has been disrupted, with the outage affecting internet access, cell phones, landline phone communication connections. Some callers could not reach emergency services via 911 calls. Canadians crowded into cafes and public libraries that still had internet access and hovered outside hotels to catch a signal. Pretty wild for this to happen 19 hours. When I read it, I almost thought it was a movie, and I'm like, no, I messaged people. Is this really happening? Yep, this is exactly what's going on in Canada right now.
So it's just one network? Rogers is it? That's all they have?
Tyler, Rogers Network, is that their main network that they have?
I'm pretty sure that I've never even heard of another one except...
So lady sent me a message. Here's what she said. Private message. She said, saw your tweet. Canada, I think you'll find people here who are afraid to speak up publicly. It's very scary. We're working on an exit strategy to get assets and family out of the country. Thank you for posing this question. Hopefully people will start talking. Also, love your work, and especially your content webinar, Preparing for Recession, but I definitely love Adam the most.
So here you go.
That Pat. I added at the end. I thought it was kind of cool.
Appreciate that.
Okay, here we go. With about 10 million wireless subscribers and 2.25 retail internet subscriber, Rogers is the top provider in Ontario, Canada's most populous province, and home to its biggest city, Toronto. Rogers BC and TELUS control 90% of the market share. Okay, so this is not just a small company that this is happening to.
No, and I've heard people are pretty upset with the monopolization of that they have. I mean, the outsized market share that they control.
Is that 90%?
They control 90% of the market share.
Full-on monopoly. At what point does it become a monopoly? 40,
That's
60%?
Exactly. There's different numbers that you hear about, 46%, 64%, but there's different numbers. But 90%
is
it's
a qualified
absolutely monopoly.
Well, and you messaged us yesterday on Instagram, and Raul came back with a pretty interesting point that this is what, remember, Dr. Peter Pry talked about. If you had not a solar flare, but brought the network down, it would be something equivalent to this. Shutting down the banking systems, television, phone lines, everything would shut down. Mm-hmm. It's pretty interesting.
I'm gonna show you something, Tyler. I'm gonna give this to you. Put this up on the big screen so people can see it. This is a shout out to the Prime Minister of Canada. He was walking in Canada, and people were shouting at him, and it was not friendly. Because when I posted this, a bunch of people from Canada sent me a bunch of tweets. Look at this data here. Okay, debt from pre-Trudeau. All the prime ministers combined since 1867, $630 billion in debt. Just under Trudeau, $662 billion in debt. That's a big number right there. I mean, Trudeau must be very competitive to put a number like that. Okay, you know, and by the way, if you keep doing that to a country that doesn't have the biggest GDP in the world, 662 in America is what? Nothing. Mm-hmm. But 662 for a Canada, that's a lot of money right there.
Well, now it's nothing. I remember during 2008, the recession, when we were going to bail out whoever we were bailing out, it was still in the billions. It was still like 900 something billion. Now we don't bat an eye when we're cutting checks for trillion. We printed what, $5 trillion since the pandemic. So we're in the trillions now. They're still working with billions. They've got some catching up to do. By the way, you must have some strong. I mean, we've sat down with Jordan Peterson here, Canadian.
Yeah.
This was during the the truckers' revolt that they were doing in Ontario. We've had Dr. Gad Sad here recently, basically saying I've gone into business with the Canadian government. They take 60% of my earnings. I run into Canadians all the time. I had saw a couple of buddies that I ran into in Miami this weekend, basically saying I got to get the hell out of this godforsaken country. What the hell's going on in Canada? Is it just become so far extreme socialism? Is it Trudeau is just an authoritarian disguised as a nice guy? What do you think is happening in Canada?
You asking him or you?
I'm asking you.
I mean, it's exactly what happens when you give somebody too much power and their motives are not positive motives. The results are this, what's taking place in Canada. And the reality of it is a lot of people that were messaging me, they were all saying the same thing. We're trying to figure out a way to leave here with our assets. Okay. When we left Iran, this is the story that most people don't hear about. Maybe you have stories like this as well. A lot of people, when they left Iran, the people that left pre-Shah's revolution, they left with their money. But the people that left post-Shah's revolution and Khomeini came in, they couldn't leave with their money. So the money was left. So if you'd like, let's just say you sold the property in Iran and you wanted to bring your money to the States, that wasn't easy to do. So imagine you're living in Canada, you got $1 million there. You got $500,000. You've been working 40 years and you got $500,000. You got $1 million saved. You're trying to come to the States. You know, you want to take that out. I don't know if that's the case, but if they're going in this direction of doing things like this, it's a scary sight.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.